surrounded by wrestling fans. Not sports entertainment fans. Professional wrestling fans! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up! This is
the Wrestling Matters Podcast, a podcast that stands up for professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters. So join the revolution, because the revolution is now. Hey, start the show.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and whoever else is listening to this, wrestling fans all over the world, it's me, Ted H-E-A-D, here for another installment of the one and only Wrestling Matters Podcast. That's right. Hope you're well, ladies and gents. Hope you are well in whatever it is you are doing. On today's show, we got the usual stuff: Raw, SmackDown, NXT, TNA, Ring of Honor, plus a few other things as well, if I can fit them in. Like I say, guys, hope you're all well in whatever it is you are doing. Hope you're enjoying the world of professional wrestling. A few things that have come up as well. Another match, a couple of matches that have been signed for the SummerSlam pay-per-view as well. I'll get to that later. Even a spoiler as well, which is kind of predictable. But more on that later. But I found out something this week. I found out the reason why MVP is no longer in TNA this week, and I kind of chuckled about it. It was the Solomon Master that was on YouTube. He does a podcast as well. Be sure to check him out. I'll leave the link to the video that I saw of him talking about MVP in the description below. Unbelievable. Typical TNA, right? Apparently, from what I've gathered from this, MVP is no longer with TNA, as we well know. Now, apparently, according to him, he put out a tweet saying that he had a contract till February because he got sick of people asking him what is his contract status. He says he has a contract till February, but TNA have fired him. That's right, TNA fired him for something. Now, we all know what happened with the Beatdown Clans feud with I believe it was the Rising. We all know what happened. It went from 3-on-4. It went from 3-on-3 to 4-on-3 many times. You know, Homicide came in. At one point, towards the end of the feud, they brought in Hernandez, Superman. Now, there was an issue with this because apparently he was under contract to Lucha Underground. Apparently. That's what I heard, and that's what this is all about. MVP recommended to bring him in. He recommended to TNA to bring Hernandez back in. I mean, that poor bastard's probably been in and out of TNA for God knows how long. But he recommended him to come in and be a part of the group. TNA didn't do their homework. This is what I got from the video. Like I said, I'll leave the video link in the description. It didn't do their homework very well. Not that TNA haven't done many things very well, to be honest with you. But anyway, they brought him in not knowing that he was under contract to Lucha Underground, and TNA not given the courtesy of checking up things. You know, if you bring somebody in, you would check up. You know, he's under, like I say, if he's working for another company like Lucha Underground, for example, you would check up to see if he's still working there still, to make sure that he's not under contract. You know, that's what kind of this was all about before, with the whole Kevin Nash, Scott Hall angle, when they came in as the outsiders before the old NWO thing kicked off, because they wanted to know if they were Bischoff even asked them if they were still working for things. You got to do something like that to make sure everything is cool, everything is all good. But apparently, you know, he was still under contract, from what I gathered at least. And what did TNA do? They fired MVP. They punished MVP because he recommended Hernandez, and they fired him. So MVP recommends somebody. TNA does not do their homework in, you know, I mean, God almighty. It's blatantly ridiculous. It really is. Blatantly stupid. I mean, come on. You fire him because he recommended Hernandez to be in the group and to come in to be in the group, and you didn't take the time to check up whether you were still under contract to another organization or another company. And then to punish MVP, you fire him. You just blatantly fire his ass. I'm so done, And you wonder why TNA gets stick all the time. I can't go as better as that. You wonder why TNA gets stick all the time. It really, I don't know what to say. I really do not know what to say about that. Triple H did a live stream this week via the new live stream thing that they've got for celebrities now on Facebook. And he did a few things that he probably shouldn't have, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, it was great. He answered the questions. He had a Q&A with the fans. The fans tweeted him, asking him questions, and he answered them. He did all that good stuff as well. But there was one thing that he kind of let slip. Now, as we well know, which I'll talk about more later on, it was Charlotte and Bayley. Bayley on NXT is asked for a title shot. She wants a title shot against Sasha Banks. She wants to be the NXT Women's Champion, and she's made that very clear. And this past week, which I'll talk about more later on in the podcast, she wrestled Charlotte, and I'll give you the thing. She won. Like I said, I'll talk about that more later on in the podcast. Next week, she wrestles Becky Lynch, and the winner goes to NXT August 22nd in Brooklyn to face Sasha Banks. But the problem is, Triple H already gave the game away, because he mentioned during this Q&A that Bayley is going to be wrestling Sasha Banks August 22nd. If you look back, I'm pretty sure he gives the game away. So people are going to watch this next week and probably think, Bayley's going to win this straight away. Not that they probably would anyway. But Bayley, is going to be wrestling Sasha Banks August 22nd in Brooklyn for NXT. It's as simple as that, And Triple H gave the game away. Spoiler alert, if you will, during this Q&A. Go back and watch the video. Go and find the video and go back and watch it. If I find it, I'll put it in the description for you, and you can check it out yourselves. It's a cool little thing. Hey, I'm down with Triple H, doing all that good stuff, for the fans and everything, but you might not want to give the game away, dude. Just saying. Credit to you for what you did, but, keep everything stum. I'm just saying. But Bayley, it's made very clear. I'll give the game away right now as well, just like Triple H did. Bayley will be wrestling Sasha Banks August 22nd at Brooklyn. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the Q&A. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'll leave that there, and I'll take a quick time out and back after this with Raw and SmackDown main points. So stay tuned. Be sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Madness Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only. ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland. Well, I'll be reviewing their shows. Oh my God! Talking ICW.
That's 13-14!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Madness Podcast Extra ICW podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and Soundcloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 2 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. And like I said, guys, before the commercial break, we'll get right into it. That's right, we'll get right into it. This is Monday Night Raw's main talking points. Now, Raw kicked off this week with an unbelievable match. Seth Rollins doing his own invitational, the World Heavyweight Championship invitational, just like the United States Championship, and he went one-on-one with Adrian Neville. Thanks to a few authority-imposed stipulations, the challenger must be a shorter than 6 feet and less than 200 pounds. Rollins thought he was getting El Torito, instead he got Adrian Neville, or Neville as he's now known, and he almost lost too. If not for a faithful foot on the ropes that saved Rollins from a 3 count after the Red Arrow, the Architect managed to evade the second attempt of the Red Arrow and hit Mr. Neville with the pedigree to retain the championship. Now, if this match, you have to see this match to believe what took place. Adrian Neville was so close to becoming the first ever British World Heavyweight Champion, but I'll tell you this, if this match, seriously, this match doesn't tell you, right? If this match doesn't tell you that the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins is on borrowed time, holy moly, that's all I'm saying, holy moly. Because I think he is on borrowed time. Now, the New Day and the Ascension beat the Lucha Dragons and Los Matadores. I'm not even going to talk about that because, quite frankly, I don't even like to talk about the Ascension, to be honest. Meet PCB. Short for Paige, Becky, and Charlotte, considering what they originally were called. More on that. I'll talk about that in a minute. They were called some names, the Sorority Girls, or Sorority Sisters or something, but they didn't realise it was upon him. I left a video out on my YouTube page, on the Wrestling Matters YouTube channel. Go and check that out as well. So hilarious. They're talented, they're gorgeous, and they will tap out in about 5 freaking seconds, especially if your last name is Bella. How do we know this? Well, the two of the Divas division's newest pledges, Charlotte and Becky Lynch, took the resident Queen Bees and almost immediately backed up their moniker, locking in holds that talked the Bella Twins joint into every angle imaginable. The twins were no slouch themselves, though after taking a fair amount of punishment, Brie managed to escape, to disarm her and gave Team Bella some life. But once Becky reached Charlotte, all of the Bella's blunt force offense couldn't match the former NXT Women's Champion's genetic technique. A fresh Nikki found herself tapping out to the figure 8 moments later, giving the PCB their latest win. Charlotte Flair, future of the Divas division, that's all I'm saying. Cesaro and Kevin Owens join Miz TV, and these two will go at it at SummerSlam. This match is going to take place at SummerSlam. Get the popcorn ready, because Miz TV is back, and two people who hate each other are the guests of honor. Joining the second most must-see talk show in WWE history for Miz's latest interview were Cesaro and Kevin Owens, who have developed a gritty rivalry of late that escalated on SmackDown with the King of Swing pinned KO in a tag team contest. The animosity between the two didn't exactly cool in the setting of the talk show. Owens called Cesaro jealous of his talent, and Cesaro accused Owens of disrespecting the WWE Universe. As tempers rose, Owens balked at Cesaro's challenge to fight, but settled for a cheap shot by shoving Miz into the Swiss Superman. Cesaro recovered quickly and nearly sent Owens swinging into a Cesaro section, though the former NXT champion escaped with his body intact, rejecting the fight until his terms are met, which will be SummerSlam, I would imagine. No doubt. Rusev beats Mark Henry. Job. King Barrett defeats Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder shouldn't come on WWE Raw and job out to people, man. You should just Zack, if you're listening, or if you hear this, or if someone could put this on Twitter, Zack, just stay on what I call it, man. Just stay on NXT. You've got a great tag team going on NXT. Just stay there, man. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar addressed The Undertaker after what happened a couple of weeks ago. It's been 2 weeks since The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar nearly tore the house down, literally. Surely the Beast Incarnate and his advocate Paul Heyman have cooled down enough to properly address the situation right. Oh, who are we kidding? Heyman was spitting mad as he blasted the Phenom with his signature pipe bombs, if I can steal one from CM Punk, questioning the exact of the powers of The Undertaker, who had to resort to a low blow to one-up the Conqueror at Battleground. Heyman added that the sneak attack was designed to force Mr. McMahon's hand into sanctioning a Lesnar match. The Phenom begged for at WrestleMania, but was denied. Lesnar let Heyman handle the talking, perching himself on a steel steps, while the advocate summed things up in his own way. Last time the Phenom needed an ambulance, this time he'll need his last rites. Paige beats Naomi, paying tribute. And by the way, shout out to Paige, Alicia Fox, and Dean Ambrose as well for paying tribute to the Rowdy One. And shout out to Monday Night Raw for paying their own tribute to Rowdy Roddy Piper as well, WWE. Speaking of Dean Ambrose, if there was ever a proper way to pay homage to Rowdy Roddy Piper, it's got to be a Ruffin in a leather jacket teaming up with two of his friends to beat up a bunch of thugs in the main event of Raw. So kudos to Dean Ambrose for the spitting image of Piper in his hot rod tee and leather jacket. Roman Reigns and Randy Orton for getting the job done against Wyatt family and the enemy of their enemy, Sheamus. The Viper Shield combo was a well-oiled machine throughout the entire 6-man blockbuster that blew the lid off Raw's final moments. Even Ambrose, who found himself isolated by the group's foes, ended up being the difference maker when a suicide dove Luke Harper over the announce table to neutralize the former Intercontinental Champion. That left the Apex Predator free to RKO Bray Wyatt and allowed Roman Reigns, who had been revving up for minutes, to spear the Celtic Warrior for the win. Cue the bagpipes. And that was the end of Monday Night Raw. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. We'll go straight to SmackDown's main talking points. Hope you're enjoying this so far. So far, so good. Alright, let's get to the SmackDown main talking points, Roman Reigns and Rusev engage in a war of words. Roman Reigns started SmackDown off by issuing a family versus family challenge to Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam, which has already been announced. Just after the big dog announced he enlisted the help of his brother Dean Ambrose in a showdown, Rusev and Summer Rae interrupted. The Bulgarian Brute demanded the powerhouse Reigns exit the ring, prompting the former Shield muscle to declare Rusev's recent behavior with a hot summer as creepy before inviting the super athlete to step inside the squared circle amid the USA chants from the WWE Universe, and a fired up Rusev instead chose to wave the Bulgarian flag and wait for their match in SmackDown's main event. More on that in a minute. Mark Henry, primetime players defeat New Day. SmackDown showcased the future of the women's division. Get a closer look at the self-proclaimed genetically superior diva, Charlotte. Charlotte and Naomi's match ended in a no contest. Sasha Banks and Naomi defeat Charlotte and Becky Lynch, fed off for the no contest match. Zack Ryder jobs to Stardust. Big Show's giant SummerSlam message. Big Show proclaimed he was not only training and ready to defeat The Miz and Ryback for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam, but that he would also do so by knocking the big guy out. Bring on August 23rd. And the final match of the SmackDown. Admin Roman Reigns and Rusev's hard-hitting clash. Summer Rae tried to make her way into the ring, prompting Lana to arrive at ringside and come to blows with her lookalike. The Divas brawl ended in a slap so potent that it left Hot Summer trying to cool her face down. Super Athlete blew a gasket, taking his frustrations out on Reigns. The Bulgarian Brute, though he had captured a victory after hitting a super kick, but Reigns countered, or thought that he captured a victory with a super kick, but Reigns countered a second attempt before connecting with a crushing spear. After Reigns was declared the winner, Bray Wyatt appeared on the Titantron to formally accept the Rivals Family vs. Family SummerSlam Challenge. And that was the end of the SmackDown and Raw main talking points, guys. So, bring on SummerSlam, and bring on this coming week. Tonight, in fact, on Raw. Should be interesting. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back for part 3 right after this. Stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show your support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 3 of the Wrestling Matters podcast. And without further ado, not going to waste your time. Let's get right into it. This is NXT's main talking points. Bayley went 101 to kick off this week. Like I said before during the little intro thing in part 1, Bayley faced Charlotte this week. Bayley has said in recent weeks that if she wants to be the best in NXT, she has to beat the best. She got her chance to do that this week, as her friend and former rival, Charlotte, answered the challenge. The happy-go-lucky diva showed she could hang with the Submission Sister member early in the match, trading holds with Charlotte. As the match wore on, Bayley's determination shone through, as she found counters to the former NXT Women's Champion's offense, eventually staggering Charlotte with a top rope Hurricane Rana and earning a near fall with a belly-to-belly suplex. Through Charlotte fought back and looked to have the win in hand. With her opponent in position for the natural selection off the ropes, Bayley escaped and hit the Bayley to Bayley suplex off the second rope to win the match. With newfound self-confidence, Bayley made her way back to the NXT General Manager's office and asked for a women's title match. While Regal admitted she even thought Bayley deserved one, she wasn't the only diva in the running to challenge Sasha Banks. He informed Bayley she will face Becky Lynch next week with a championship match at TakeOver on the line, August 22nd. And you know what's going to happen out of that one because I already said it during the break. You don't believe me? Go back and watch Triple H's Q&A. Good one, Trips. Anywho, Baron Corbin versus Steve Coulter. Once again, looking for a chance, Corbin strode to the ring, ready to fight Steve. Did not last long though. Though he landed his first strike, Coulter was on the victim of the end of days within seconds. I see. Tyler Breeze also was in action, still waiting for a big match Regal promised for him at TakeOver Brooklyn. Tyler Breeze set out to show Regal that he deserves better competition. Prince Pretty pummeled Aaron Solo, spelled Solow, into the canvas by hitting with a beauty shot to end the victory. As a frustrated Breeze stood in the ring, waiting and enjoying the victory, William Regal shows up and announces that he's going to get his wish. August 22nd, he will get his match. Regal found a suitable opponent for him. August 22nd, it'll be Tyler Breeze one-on-one with Jushin Thunder Liger. Oh yeah. The Hype Brothers versus Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson. Two of NXT's hottest tag teams collide on WWE Network, looking to make a name for themselves in the competitive NXT Tag Team Championship picture. Each team showed off their strength, with Zack and Mojo Rawley demonstrating a lot of energy before Scott Dawson and Wilder cut them off with their old school roughneck style. In the end, the Hype Brothers stood victorious after hitting Wilder with a combination Rough Rider Spinebuster. However, Dawson and Wilder got the last word, blindsiding their foes after the bell and hitting Ryder with Shatter Machine. Now for the main event, which saw Samoa Joe one-on-one with Rhino. Coming off his loss with to Wolfgang at Shug's Hoose Party, the Man-Beast seemed frustrated at the start of the match as Joe proved himself to be one of the few superstars in NXT who can absorb Rhino's powerful offense and keep moving forward. Two bruises traded early on, with Rhino unloading raw, vicious blows and Joe countering with painful percentage strikes. Wow. Including a surprising diving forearm through the ropes onto the arena floor. The two beasts slugged away at each other after the remainder of the bout, trading control back and forth as the match wore on. Joe used his grappling knowledge to ground Rhino in between strikes. Joe staggered the Man-Beast on the ropes with a huge enziguri, then slammed him with a muscle buster to get the victory. What is next for Samoa Joe? I'm guessing you'll have to wait until after TakeOver August 22nd, but a big win for Samoa Joe over Rhino. Love to know what direction Rhino's going as far as NXT goes. But anyway, that is it for the NXT main talking points. Great show, 4 out of 5. Loved it. And the women's match stole the show. And I'll be back, and that'll be it for now. I'll be back after this quick timeout, ladies and gentlemen, with TNA's main talking points. So stay tuned. Be sure to tune in each and every Wednesday for the Progress Wrestling Podcast. That's right, each and every week on Wednesdays, for the time being at least, I will be reviewing their shows from their on-demand service, Demand Progress. So be sure to check out the hottest promotion to come out of London. That's right, it's Progress Wrestling. This is Progress. This is a podcast on Progress. Every Wednesday on SoundCloud, YouTube, OSW TV, and every other podcasting site that matters. Be sure to check it out. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters podcast now on Twitter at WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back to part 4 of the Wrestling Matters podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. And without further ado, we'll get into it. Yeah, it's TNA time. TNA kicked off this week with a singles match. The 55-member and big nutcase that he is, Bram, went one-on-one with Mr. Anderson. Seeking retribution for Bram's attack weeks prior, Mr. Anderson storms the ring and unleashes a fury of offense, ultimately sending Bram outside. Anderson drives Bram skull-first into the ring post. He follows up by sending Bram into the apron with a shoulder block. Bram attempts to make his back into the match. I think that's meant to say Bram attempts to make it back into the match, but he is caught with a clothesline and attempted Green Bay plunge. Using the top rope for leverage, Bram pulls himself out of the holds and shifts the complexion of the match. Bram drives Anderson into the ring apron and barricade before tangling him in the ring skirt and punishing him with a series of hard shots. Bram miscalculates a crossbody, which allows Anderson to capitalize with a Green Bay plunge. Anderson scales the turnbuckle, but Bram has him scouted. He connects with a superplex. Bram continues his barrage of punishment, but Anderson repeatedly kicks out of the pin attempts that follow. Bram attempts a front face suplex. Anderson rolls through with an inside cradle for the win. Bram assaults Anderson after the match using his megaphone. So, a little bit of retribution there for Mr. Anderson. Koya is no more. James Storms enter the impact zone as a replay of Storm and Serena being defeated by Mickey James and Magnus Ayres. Storm says the Revolution is founded on the basis on everyone being given a chance. He claims to have given everything to the man that ultimately failed him. Storm calls out Koya. Storm verbally berates and slaps Koya to remind everyone who he is. Koya powers Storm to the mat with a huge spinebuster and screams. His name is not that person anymore. His name is Mahabali Shira or Shira. Mahabali Shira. I have no idea how it's pronounced. It's spelled Mahabali and Shira is spelled Shera. You work that up. I'll call him Shira. The Dollhouse in the handicap match lose to Gail Kim. Sick. Obviously they wanted retribution for the attacks by Gail Kim, but obviously that was not to fruition. Eli Drake enters the arena wearing a sit-down shirt. Galloway attacks. He sends Drake into the stairs and then into retreat across the ring and back outside. Galloway rips up the floor padding and Drake is sent crushing into the concrete floor. Galloway backs Drake up into the guardrail and rips off the shirt. Fans in the front row restrain Drake as Galloway delivers a stinging chop. Galloway connects with a clothesline from the stairs. Galloway sends Drake into the ring post. Opening bell sounds. In the ring, opening bell sounds, sorry. Eli Drake ducks out of a future shock attempt and attempts to walk out on the match. Galloway drags him back down the ramp and rolls him back into the ring. Eli Drake connects with a high knee before Galloway makes it through the ropes. Then he drives Galloway's shoulder first into the ring post. Drake crowds Galloway in the corner and unleashes an onslaught of punishment. Galloway creates separation with a big clothesline and then he tosses Eli Drake into the turnbuckle with a huge release German suplex. Galloway unloads a series of rights in the corner until the official steps between them. Drake drives a thumb in Galloway's eye and then rolls him up, grabs a handful of tags and a rope for leverage and wins the match. Is this feud going to end? I doubt it. I'm going to end this with this. The next match was Spud and Austin Aries. We all know the stipulation, and just like as we suspected, it ended as Aries attempts a brainbuster. Spud counters with an inside cradle. Aries is out at 2. He connects with a series of discus elbows and running dropkick. Aries scores a brainbuster. Spud kicks out. The two trade punches, and ultimately Spud connects with the wind-up punch. Aries falls outside, and Spud dives over the top rope. Spud connects with a diving crossbody. He scores a 2 count. Aries counters another underdog attempt. Aries positions Spud on the turnbuckle and delivers a huge slap, followed by a boxing of the ears. Aries attempts a backdrop body drop, but Spud counters, hits a super underdog, and gets the victory. And Aries hands Spud his bow tie and raises the hand into the air. No more Austin Aries in TNA. Shearer against Storm, which ended in a disqualification win for the man formerly known as Koya. And also, Bully Ray was taken out backstage. The TNA World Title match in a Full Metal Mayhem ended how EC3 looks up at the title and then rolls to the outside. He positions Hardy on the apron for a possible powerbomb. Hardy counters with a side effect. Hardy drapes EC3 across the table and climbs back into the ring. He scales the ropes and crushes onto EC3 with a leg drop. Through the table, I would imagine. The official and medics gather around the ring to check on EC3 as Matt Hardy scales the ladder again. Hardy gets his fingertips on the title once more. EC3 makes a save with a chair shot to the knee. EC3 and Hardy race to the top. Hardy catches the champion with a series of rights, just as the reign of Carter and his undefeated streak appeared to be in jeopardy. EC3 kicks out Hardy's knee, which sends him from the ladder. Hardy clutches his knee as EC3 retrieves the belt. And that is the end of the TNA Made Talking Points. Hope you enjoyed that. Pretty good show. Interesting to see what happens this coming week. And I would imagine the GFW invasion is on. So, with that being said, I will be back after this quick timeout, guys, with Ring of Honor review. So, stay tuned. Be sure to tune in each and every Wednesday for the Progress Wrestling Podcast. That's right, each and every week on Wednesdays, for the time being at least, I will be reviewing their shows from their on-demand service, Demand Progress. So be sure to check out the hottest promotion to come out of London. That's right, it's Progress Wrestling. This is Progress. This is a podcast on Progress. Every Wednesday on Soundcloud, YouTube, OSW TV, and every other podcasting site that matters. Be sure to check it out. Wrestling matters, wrestling fans. Be sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only. ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland, where I'll be reviewing their shows.
Oh my God!
Talking ICW.
That's 13-14!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra ICW podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and Soundcloud. Wrestling matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 5 of the Wrestling Matters Podcast. And now, without further ado, it is now time for the Ring of Honor review. Without further ado, Ring of Honor review. Anywho, started off this week with Roderick Strong talking about his 60-minute draw with Jay Lethal at Death Before Dishonor and demands a rematch with Jay Lethal. Kicked off this week, wrestling-wise, with War Machine versus the Young Bucks. Now, War Machine started off fast after Bucks told them to suck it, literally, did the DX chop and everything. Machine hit a powerbomb, H-bomb move. Rowe throws Nick into Matt on the outside, like a Warrior Gorilla Press Slam out there. Double super kick on War Machine. War Machine catch the Bucks off a moonsault and throw them into each other. Then on the apron, the Bucks hit super kicks on War Machine that rocked the big boys. Then handstand kick combo followed by a senton while Matt hung Rowe on the apron by the Young Bucks. Cannonball, then moonsault splash combo. Bucks get a near fall. Gotta love the Young Bucks. You really do. Hansen hits a double clothesline but then gets up, turns around and gets right into a super kick. Double super kick, that is. Drop kick, then a dive on War Machine, but Nick seemed to have hurt himself on that. Back from the break, War Machine looked to take advantage of the 2-on-1 situation. AJ Styles comes out to make sure that Nick is okay, Bullet Club and that. War Machine isolate Matt Jackson, advantage War Machine. War Machine using their power to isolate Matt. Oh boy. Double body slam followed up by powerbomb on Matt, but Matt gets out the way. Matt makes it 1-on-1, but AJ gets a tag, ref allows it, fight back is on. Second rope Hurricane Rana by AJ. Beautifully done. Absolutely superb. AJ knocks ref down. AJ takes a Superman punch. Matt hits a super kick on both War Machine. Double team power moves by War Machine on Matt. Hansen is on the second rope and jumps right into a super kick from Nick. Rowe takes a super kick. Also takes the Bloody Sunday, which is a single arm, which gets him into like a DDT position. Singles the arm. Lifts him up, does like a brain buster, and then takes a style clash, and the Bullet Club or Young Bucks win the match. But the story of this was the Bullet Club outsmarted War Machine. Adam Cole promo on Kyle O'Reilly saying that there's nothing wrong with him or the Kingdom, and he'd explained everything to the Kingdom as far as the relationship and friendship that he has with Kyle O'Reilly. Cedric Alexander against Romantic Touch. Yes, you heard me correct. There is a wrestler in Ring of Honor called Romantic Touch. Cedric Alexander versus Romantic Touch. Cedric drop kicks Touch to start the match. Cedric chokes Touch with his jacket. Cedric hits a right hand. Great drop kick by Touch. Then hits a dive on Cedric. Scott gets involved. Vader Scott, that is. Gets involved. Advantage Cedric. Cedric hits a back suplex into a backbreaker. Gets the win. Scott gets into Cedric's head and asks him to rip the mask off Touch. Caprice Coleman comes in, tries to stop Cedric, but takes him taking the mask off, but gets shoved on his ass. Moose's music hits. He comes out to the ring, but Cedric and Vader Scott get away. Jay Lethal cuts a promo on Roderick Strong, saying that he should now go to the back of the line if he wants a shot at the title. Basically turning down his offer for a rematch. You have to speak with Mr. Nigel McGuinness on that one though. Adam Cole against Kyle O'Reilly. Now, strange turn of events in this match. Great chain wrestling between the two. Kyle in control as Ring of Honor went to break. Back from the break, still in charge. Kyle always maintaining control. Chris Daniels, who was at ringside, gets up from his chair, runs his mouth. Adam Cole comes over, pie faces him. Daniels gets up, attacks Adam Cole, and then goes to work, and then all hell breaks loose because Cass comes out and all hell breaks loose. Adam Cole then challenges Addiction to a fight, to fight Future Shock. That's right, to reunite Future Shock, because for those of you that don't know, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly used to be a tag team when they first broke into Ring of Honor, and they challenged the boys of Addiction, the World Tag Team Champions, to fight them right now, right there and then. So they accepted. Addiction versus Future Shock, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Cole and Cass start advantage Future Shock. Double team on Daniels. Future Shock showing great teamwork. Back from the break, Daniels begging off. Addiction getting advantage. Addiction isolate Kyle O'Reilly. Suplex into a neck breaker by Adam Cole. Shining Wizard gets Adam Cole in the fall. Adam Cole locks in a figure four. Double team powerbomb neck breaker combo by the Addiction. Cole rolls up Daniels and gets a win. Sabin hits the ring. Addiction and Sabin begin a beatdown. Bobby Fish comes out to make the save. Red Dragon and Adam Cole stand tall. And the Kingdom come on the stage and do not seem to be very happy with Mr. Adam Cole. Where does Cole stand with the Kingdom? Is he in the Kingdom anymore? Could this be the end of Adam Cole's relationship with the Kingdom? A lot of questions I need answering. Hopefully next episode of Ring of Honor we can get these answered, because I want to know where he stands. Everybody wants to know where Adam Cole stands. Everybody was chanting a new Red Dragon, meaning have Red Dragon with Adam Cole on. Anything can happen though. But 4 out of 5 for Ring of Honor. I loved it, and I'll be back after this with the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast, so stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show you support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters podcast now on Twitter at WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Be sure sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Madness Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only. ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland, where I'll be reviewing their shows.
Oh my God!
Talking ICW.
That's 13-14!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Madness Podcast Extra ICW podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and Soundcloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're going to know our name.
Right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. I'm going to end it here by just letting you people know there have been 4 matches made for the WWE SummerSlam pay-per-view, which takes place August 23rd, which you can see on pay-per-view. But hey, why do you want to see it on pay-per-view? Well, you can see it for £10 a month, or in this case, this month, if you're new subscribers, free on the WWE Network. And apparently, there's been 4 matches that have been made for the pay-per-view. Not to give any spoilers away, not that I care, quite frankly, but hey, there has been 4 matches from what I've gathered. Whether they've been put up here is an understatement, and yes, they have. They are, like I said, Sting will not be at SummerSlam. The plans to have a 6-man tag are off, because, well, there's no reason for a 6-man tag, quite frankly. So it's going to be Luke Harper, Bray Wyatt hook up against Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns in a tag team war. What will be in this match, I do not know. Okay, will there be a no disqualification match? God knows. But it seems 2 members of the Shield going against 2 members of the Wyatt family. Also, as you well know, ladies and gentlemen, the other match that's been signed is The Beast and the Phenom. The return match from the WrestleMania 30, and Undertaker wants revenge. He'll get his chance at SummerSlam. A lot of controversy surrounding this match, with people saying, is it really necessary? Well, I guess we'll find out whether it was necessary or not at SummerSlam August 23rd. The other match that's been signed is a match that should have took place at Battleground, but it didn't. But it's going to take place at SummerSlam instead. That's right, triple threat match is back on. For the Intercontinental Championship, it's going to be Big Show versus Miz versus Ryback. The winner becomes Intercontinental Champ. And the other match that's going to take place, it seems to be confirmed, guys. It's going to be the United States Champion John Cena against World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. Title for title. And I could see that match being very, very predictable, but I'll discuss that on a later date. So with that being said, guys, my name is Anthony Walker, thanking you to take the time to listen to the Wrestling Matters Podcast, episode 71. Be sure to check out the affiliates of this podcast as well, which are RFPW. Check them out. You can find out them information and all of good stuff on our other affiliates. That's right, Only Scottish Wrestling TV, OSW TV. Be sure to check them out. Till next time, guys, my name is Anthony Walker. Peace out.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change! Professional wrestling! This is it! This is us standing up!
Yes, 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 yes!
That's 13-14!
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Simpson.